The Seventh Horse by Leonora Carrington. A strange-looking creature was hopping about in the midst of a bramble bush. She was caught by her long hair, which was so closely entwined into the brambles that she could move neither backwards nor forwards. She was cursing and hopping till the blood flowed down her body. "I do not like the look of it," said one of the two ladies who intended to visit the rose garden. "It might be a young woman, and yet—" "This is my garden," replied the other, who was as thin and dry as a stick, "and I strongly object to trespassers. I expect it is my poor, silly little husband who has let her in. He is such a child, you know." "I've been here for years," shrieked the creature angrily, "but you are too stupid to have seen me." "Impertinent as well," remarked the first lady, who was called Miss Myrtle. "I think you had better call the gardener, Mildred. I don't think it is quite safe to go so near. The creature seems to have no modesty." Hevelino tugged angrily at her hair, as if she would have liked to get at Mildred and her companion. The two ladies turned to go, not before they had exchanged a long look of hate with Hevelino. The spring evening was lengthening before the gardener came to set Hevelino free. "John," said Hevelino, lying down on the grass, "can you count up to 7? Do you know that I can hate for 77 million years without stopping for rest? Tell those miserable people that they are doomed." She trailed off towards the stable where she lived, muttering as she went, 77, 77. There were certain parts of the garden wall where all the flowers, trees, and plants grew tangled together. Even on the hottest days, these places were in blue shadow. There were deserted figures overgrown with moss, still fountains and old toys, decapitated and destitute. Nobody went there except Hevelino. She would kneel and eat the short grass and watch a fascinating bird who never moved away from his shadow. He let his shadow glide around him as the days went by, and over him when there was a moon. He always sat with his hairy mouth wide open, and moths and little insects would fly in and out. Hevelino went to see the bird dining the night after she was caught in the brambles. A retinue of 6 horses accompanied her. They walked 7 times around the fat bird in silence. "Who's there?" said the bird eventually in a whistling voice. "It is I, Hevelino, with my 6 horses." "You are keeping me awake with your stumping and snorting," came the plaintive reply. "If I cannot sleep, I can see neither the past nor the future. I shall waste away if you won't go away and let me sleep." "They are going to come and kill you," said Hevelino. "You had better keep awake. I heard somebody say you would be roasted in hot fat, stuffed with parsley and onions, and then eaten." The corpulent bird cast an apprehensive eye on Hevelino, who was watching him closely. "How do you know?" breathed the bird. "Just tell me that." "You are much too fat to fly," continued Hevelino relentlessly. "If you tried to fly, you'd be like a fat toad doing his death dance." "How do you know this?" screamed the bird. "They can't know where I am. I've been here for 77 years. "They don't know yet. Not yet." Hevelino had her face close to his open beak. Her lips were drawn back, and the bird could see her long wolf's teeth. His fat little body quivered like a jelly. "What do you want of me?" Hevelino gave a sort of crooked smile. "Ah, that's better." She and the 6 horses made a circle around the bird, and watched him with their prominent and relentless eyes. "I want to know exactly what is going on in the house," said she, "and be quick about it." The bird cast a frightened look around him, but the horses had sat down. There was no escape. He became wet with sweat, and the feathers clung, draggled to his fat stomach. "I cannot say," he said at last in a strangled voice. "Something terrible will befall us if I say what I can see." "Roasted in a hot fat and eaten," said Hevelino. You are mad to want to know the things that do not concern you. I am waiting, said Hevelino. The bird gave a long, compulsive shudder and turned his eyes, which had become bulging and slightless, to the east. They are at dinner, he said eventually, and a great black moth flew out of his mouth. The table is laid for 3 people. Mildred and her husband have begun to eat their soup. She is watching him suspiciously. I found something unpleasant in the garden today, she says, laying down her spoon. I doubt if she will eat any more now. What was that? Asks he. Why do you look so angry? Miss Myrtle has now come into the room. She looks from one to the other. She seems to guess at what they are discussing, for she says, Yes, really, Philip, I think you ought to be more careful whom you let into the garden. What are you talking about? He says angrily. How do you expect me to stop anything if I don't know what I am stopping? It was an unpleasant-looking creature, half-naked and caught in a bramble bush. I had to turn my eyes away. You let this creature free, of course. Indeed, I did not. I consider it just as well that she was trapped as she was. By the cruel look on her face, I should judge she would have done us serious harm. What? You left this poor creature trapped in the brambles? Mildred, there are times when you revolt me. I am sick of you pottering around the village and annoying the poor with your religious preamble. And now when you see a poor thing in your own garden, you do nothing but shudder with false modesty. Mildred gives a shocked cry and covers her face with a slightly soiled handkerchief. Philip, why do you say such cruel things to me, your wife? Philip, with an expression of resigned annoyance, asks, Try and describe this creature. Is it an animal or a woman? I can say no more, sobs the wife. After what you've said to me, I feel faint. You should be more careful, whispers Miss Myrtle, in her delicate condition. What do you mean, delicate condition? Asks Philip irritably. I do wish people would say what they mean. Why, surely you must know, Miss Myrtle simpers. You are going to become a daddy in a short time. Philip goes white with rage. I won't stand these fortuitous lies. It is quite impossible that Mildred is pregnant. She has not graced my bed for 5 whole years, and unless the Holy Ghost is in the house, I don't see how it came about. For Mildred is unpleasantly virtuous, and I cannot imagine her abandoning herself to anyone. Mildred, is this true? Says Miss Myrtle, trembling with delicious expectation. Mildred shrieks and sobs. He is a liar. I'm going to have a darling little baby in 3 months. Philip flings down his spoon and serviette and gets to his feet. For the 7th time in 7 days, I shall finish my dinner upstairs, says he, and stops for an instant as if his words have awakened some memory. He puts it away from him and shakes his head. All I ask is that you don't come whining after me, he says to his wife and quits the room. She shrieks, Philip, my darling little husband, come back and eat your soup. I promise I won't be naughty any more. Too late, comes the voice of Philip from the staircase. Too late now. He goes slowly up to the top of the house with his eyes looking a long way ahead of him. His face is strained as if in the effort of listening to faraway voices chattering between nightmares and dead reality. He reaches the attic at the top of the house, where he seats himself on an old trunk. I believe the trunk is filled with ancient laces, frilly knickers, and dresses. But they are old and torn. There's a black moth making his dinner on them, as Philip sits staring at the window. He considers a stuffed hedge pig on the mantelpiece, who looks worn out with suffering. Philip seems to be smothered with the atmosphere of this attic. He flings open the window and gives a long... Here the bird paused, and a long, sickening neigh rent the night. The 6 horses leapt to their feet and replied in their piercing voices. Hevelino stood stock still, with her lips drawn back and her nostrils quivering. Philip, the friend of the horses. The 6 horses thundered off towards the stable, as if obeying an age-old summons. Hevelino, with a shuddering sigh, followed, her hair streaming behind her. Philip was at the stable door as they arrived. His face was luminous and as white as snow. He counted 7 horses as they galloped by. He caught the 7th by the mane and leapt onto her back. The mare galloped if her heart would burst, and all the time Philip was in a great ecstasy of love. He felt he had grown onto the back of this beautiful black mare, and that they were one creature. At the crack of dawn, all the horses were back in their places, and the little wrinkled groom was rubbing off the caked sweat and mud of the night. His creased face smiled wisely as he rubbed his charges with infinite care. He appeared not to notice the master, who stood alone in an empty stall, but he knew he was there. "How many horses have I?" said Philip at last. "6, sir," said the little groom without ceasing to smile. That night, the corpse of Mildred was found near the stable. One would believe that she had been trampled to death, and yet they are all as gentle as lambs, said the little groom. If Mildred had been pregnant, there was no sign of it, as she was stuffed into a respectable black coffin. However, nobody could explain the presence of a small, misshapen foal that had found its way into the 7th empty stall.